Aloha, everybody. It's another episode of Ho'i Kaika again. This is, I think it's episode number 41. And as you've seen in the show, we've had several sets of brothers on the show. The Palmers, the Sam Fongs. And now we have the other brother from Nolan Tong. This is Spencer Tong. And so you can vote down in the comments which brother you think is better looking. I'm just kidding again. That's always a joke.
Look already.
No, man. Hey. Don't sell yourself short, bro. No, but
He's so.
oh, that's funny. Yeah, but Spencer Tong, I've known this guy for a while too. His brother and I was at BYU quite a bit, and through Nolan, I met Spencer, and Spencer and I are the same age, so we have a lot of things in common. So we're gonna have Spencer talk stir with you folks and introduce himself, brother. If you could go ahead, tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, Nolan probably shared with you guys our roots. Both my parents were born and raised on Oahu. My dad's from Kaneohe, my mom's from Kahuku. My mom is Japanese, full-blood Japanese, but I think third generation born in Hawaii. And then my dad's Hawaiian Chinese, 5/8 Hawaiian and 3/8 Chinese. But when they got married, they moved to the mainland. And so our whole family was born and raised in Southern California. And myself, so everyone else graduated in California. And then when I was a junior in high school, they uprooted me and we moved to Utah. So I've been living in Utah for the last 31 years. So yeah, 1992 we moved here, or I moved, and then other than serving a mission for 2 years in Argentina, I'm pretty much a Utahn. So
Oh, that's crazy, man. I didn't realize it was that long. Jeez, you Utah native.
Right.
You know, I know I asked this question to Nolan. What was it like for you growing up on the mainland as a native Hawaiian? Like, what can you recall? Because I know there's not that many, right, that went to your high school.
Yeah, I didn't really have, in my elementary school, that I was aware of, there weren't any other Polynesians. There were 2 Japanese boys around my age that I was friends with. And then the rest were mostly Haules, and then a few like minorities that lived on the military base that was in Tustin, a few miles away. So I definitely recognized that I was different, but I was embraced by a lot of good friends. So after some time and feeling comfortable in my friends group, I kind of turned pretty Haole myself. I didn't realize I forgot that I was brown till I moved to Utah. And then moving to Utah, I realized, oh man, I'm different. People see me different. Right. So yeah.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. I know it was kind of a shock for me too, coming to Utah as well, because even in Hawaii, you still got a lot of diversity. It's not like everybody's Hawaiian over here. You got Hawaiians, Asians, Samoans, Caucasians, some African Americans proposed over here too and stuff. But as soon as you go to Utah, it's like, whoa, everybody's pretty much uniform.
Yeah,
everybody's LDS, mostly everybody's Caucasian. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I'm used to that. Yeah, so I feel you on that one, bro. What would you say was helpful for you adjusting to all those cultural differences, cultural shocks, and whatnot?
My dad's so he has so much aloha spirit that I think I kind of inherited that somewhat, and so it really helped me adjust. And a lot of my friends' moms and families really brought me into their families, and I met some good guys in high school, and I'm still friends with them, and so that really helped me adjust. I had one experience when I did first move here that made me actually realize I was different. I was in Orem at the Target, and I came out of Target and I was thinking, oh, I gotta be somewhere soon. And so I asked this Haole lady, this kind of older Haole lady, I'm like, hey, excuse me, what time is it? And she turned, looked at me, and started basically like speed walking away without saying a word. And I realized, I thought, oh my gosh, like, I guess I'm different, you know? So growing up in Southern California, we all kind of look like, you know, a hodgepodge mix. And so, but moving here, I realized, oh man, I'm definitely different. So that was like a game changer for me. And I don't know if it made me like change um my persona or how but I think from that point on, I tried to like be less threatening, as minimally threatening as possible. You know, I kind of like would say, like, when I'd ask questions, or if I was meeting someone, I'd like raise the tone of my voice just to kind of like be like like seem like a nicer person and less threatening. So
I feel your pain, brother. Bro, you don't know how many times, even in Hawaii, I had that. So, like, I don't know if you saw the episode with my cousin Wilder Samfong. So naturally for me, when I'm walking around and just being myself, I got a mad face, bro. I mean, they call it resting mad face or resting B face, right? But that's me. And you know, I wasn't this big, you know, before. I was smaller. But because I walked around like that, a lot of people would look at me like, well, what's his problem, man? You know, what's wrong with him? It's like, but they say, you look like you're mad. I said, I'm not mad. I'm just relaxed, you know. And so, like you, I would have to overcompensate a lot of times. When I see people, I'm always like, you know, purposely having a goofy gait, trying to smile on my face. I'm overkilling it though. You know, I'm not myself. I'm overkilling because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to beat them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the tone of my voice does go higher too. I noticed
Yeah.
I gotta do that because if I was just talking in my normal voice, most people probably wouldn't want to hang around me.
Yeah. It changed me. It definitely changed me. But I guess, I mean, in the long run, for the good, you know, my life is good. So
Yeah, man. And I know a lot of people like hanging out with you. So whatever you're doing, keep it up, bro. Hey, so speaking about life is good. Like, could you talk a little bit about your education and your work? I know you're at work right now too. So
yeah.
could you talk about what you do?
So let me share. I'll go back, right? So kind of my struggle. I'll talk about I got my RN, so I'm a registered nurse, 2005. A little bit late in life. I was in my mid 20s when I realized, hey, you know what? I don't like accounting. I was I was in the accounting program at Utah Valley State College, UVC SC, and I just didn't like it. And one day I was talking to a guy at church, and he was talking about nursing, and I was like, man, I'm doing accounting for these nurses and these nurse anesthetists. And I thought to myself, I'm like, all this time, like, I'm hating my education. I was dragging my feet in accounting, and I realized I don't want to be an accountant. And in this day at church, I just felt this strong, overwhelming feeling like you should be a nurse. And me and this guy, you know, we both decided right then and there during the middle of church, yeah, let's do nursing. And we were excited. And we're both nurses. He's a nurse in Florida now, and I'm a nurse here in Utah. One of it's pretty rigorous, the prerequisites to get into nursing program, especially at the time for UVSC. It was difficult, and I remember I had some opposition. My actually one of my church leader, he's my bishop. I told him that I wanted to change and go to nursing. He said, you know, those prereqs, they're designed to weed people out. And he said, so, you know, it's something to consider because I don't know if nursing's for everyone. And the way he said it was basically, this is how I read it. And I don't know what his intentions were, but I felt like he was saying, there's no way you're going to do that. Because another one of the guys in our church ward, he tried nursing and he failed so many times and took anatomy and physiology, and he didn't do well. And so he basically told me, you know, Spencer, those classes are so hard and they're designed to weed people out, and I don't want you to waste time. That's a really hard major. And I remember thinking, like, what? Like, who is this guy? Like, I was kind of like, it kind of like made me feel like, okay, again, I'm getting like this preconceived, like judgmental, like you're not good enough type of feeling. And when I was a little kid in first through third grade, I was in the slow readers like group. I just could not grasp reading and I struggled at it. So, this like it fit right in. I felt like, oh, here we go again. The struggle is real. But for having served an LDS mission, I knew I could do hard things, and it kind of lit a fire under me. And so I was like, you know what? Forget this guy. He doesn't know me. And even being a spiritual leader, which most of the time I would take that to heart and run with it and take the counsel from them, because I'm sure his counsel was well intentioned, but and maybe it was meant to be, because it kind of lit a fire under me. And I started taking those harder classes, microbiology, physiology, chemistry, and I started excelling. I and I I I was on fire, and I was getting A's and B's where I wasn't used to doing that in college. I made the honor roll in college, and I'd never done that in high school. All I cared about was surfing and snowboarding. So to be on the honor roll was just crazy, and in college too. So I applied for nursing school after I finished all my prereqs, and I did really well in the entrance exam, and I got in on my first try. And I didn't realize how hard that was, because a lot of the people that applied and got in with the program with me, they had expressed how they'd been applying for the last few years. And I thought, man, how did I get so lucky? And I realized, it's not luck. It just comes down to, if you want something bad enough and you dedicate yourself, you can do it. And that's something I learned on my mission. Actually, my mission president, I had good parents, but I feel like my mom and dad, like, they kind of had that the same feelings, like preconceived thoughts, that they didn't measure up. Even though my mom was really akamai, yeah, she was valedictorian at Kahuku. There was always some like measure of like reserved insecurities in being able to like meet our capacities. And so my mission president, when I got to Argentina, he actually, when they picked us up at the airport, he sat me in the shotgun and he said, "I want you to ride shotgun." And he goes, "Hey, I was told by someone before you got here that you'll be like the best missionary." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Me? I'm just like your average Joe." I struggled in school. I was like, "What? Like, what does this mean? Like, why is he telling me this?" But he implanted in me this hope and this belief that he knew that I was going to be something special. And I'd never felt that way before. It was almost like, when you watch Star Wars and you feel like so inspired by like, Luke becoming a Jedi, like, he can do it, but like he struggles, right? And I felt the same way, like as Luke was in the swamp, basically I was like Luke in the swamp. Yeah. And I'm like trying to figure this out. Like, why would anybody think that I'm special? And it really helped me change my whole paradigm shift in my life. And so when he believed in me, I thought, well, I better measure up to that. Yeah, I better give my all, because if he believes in me, I better live up to that expectation. And so as a missionary, I wasn't the smartest, I wasn't the best, I wasn't, but I knew that if I just worked hard, that I would learn, and blessings would come my way. And that's what happened. And I knew how to work hard. My dad and my mom taught me how to work hard, and I'm so grateful to them for that. They are amazing at teaching us children, all of their children, 6 of us, to work hard. And so that really carried me and helped me develop into the best missionary that I could be. Okay, fast forward to I got into nursing school. I still hit some hiccups. I got a scholarship through my job. I worked with a guy, and his wife was a nurse, and she offered a scholarship. And he said, "Hey, you're going to get the scholarship, so congratulations." And I was like, "Sweet, that's awesome." I was working full time and going to school full time. I had 2 boys and married, and so it was a big blessing. And they brought me in. The dean one day called me in, and the entire nursing faculty was at a round table, and they brought me in during the middle of nursing classes, and they sat me down, and basically, long story short, they asked me, who wrote this letter? And it was the letter announcing that I won the scholarship. And I said, I don't know. And they handed it to me, and they said, "You've never touched this letter before?" And I said, "No, I don't, I know who it's from, but I've never touched it." And they said, "Well, who is it?" And I said, "Well, it's my boss's wife." And they were like, "Yeah, well, we talked to her, and she never wrote that letter. So, you could be going to jail for fraud." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Man, I worked so hard. I dedicated so much time and effort in getting good grades. And now you're threatening me that I'm going to get kicked out of the nursing program 3 weeks into the program." And, I said, "Contact my boss and talk to him, because he's the one who told me about it." Anyway, it was, life is never easy. There's always obstacles. And even after they verified that the scholarship really was offered to me, they came back. I remember the dean called me, and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I talked to your boss, and yeah, he wrote the letter." And I was like, I was expecting them to validate and be like, "Hey, we're sorry that we grilled you so hard." And that's all she said. That's all she said was, yeah, he verified that he wrote the letter, and he put his name, signed it as his wife. And I kind of got a little bitter for a little while, and kind of set me back in nursing school. Like I wanted to pass, but I just like didn't want to represent my university, or I didn't really care. But after halfway through the program, I realized, this is not harming anyone but myself to have this bitter attitude. So I changed my attitude, and I finished nursing school strong, and I started as a nurse. And I realized how important it is to that we limit ourselves with our own I don't want to say this. We limit ourselves with our emotional control and thoughts, and our perceptions of other people's thoughts about ourselves. And so, I thought, if people have that much control over me, that's because I'm giving it up, right? And so I realized a lot of things came to me in those moments, and I realized, if other people control me, then I'm surrendering that to them. And so I realized a really, really strong, powerful tool was to take control of my emotions and not allow others to dictate my emotions. And I'm so grateful that I went through those struggles, because I've been able to, whenever I recognize my, the teapot's getting hot, and it's about to break and whistle, and I can turn down the heat and change the atmosphere, the aura, the ambiance around me, because I'm in control of my emotions and no one else is. And so I worked in the ICU for 15 years, and you really have to control your emotions, and you really have to prepare for the worst case scenarios, because we're dealing with people that are dying or dead already. And so it really helped me develop that skill and hone that skill as a nurse in controlling my emotions. And something that I've thought about, a lot of Polynesians, we're really good in sports and football and whatnot, because we can tap into these emotions and we can use them for positivity and, making a tackle or, breaking through a offensive line and getting a sack or, whatever. We're really good at when our emotions are pointed in the right direction, so productive, right? But on the other side, our emotions can really hold us back. And so as a Polynesian and I work in the jail, I see a lot of Polynesians that the ones that are here, obviously they're here because, they're dealing with issues, right? And they haven't conquered them yet. And I say that yet because I feel like everyone has the ability to do it, even if they're in jail. And so I think being able to hone those emotions and turn them into positivity, it's a skill, but it takes a lot of practice. I'll tell you, I am so blessed to be married to my wife. She's a patient woman. She's dealt with a lot of my issues, and something that's really helped me is being able to control my emotions. She's a very sensitive person, and I am as well, but I think learning to control my emotions and use them in a positive way, I've really been able to put that into practice in my marriage. Because we came from, we were kind of poor. And so my dad was a mailman. We lived in Southern California and we had 6 kids. When he got home from the post office, he would go work as a janitor at the church to make ends meet. And so just coming from like a feeling of not ever having money. And then my wife's dad, my father-in-law, was an accountant and he did really well. They made really good money. So finances were really difficult initially in our marriage because she was used to having, and I was living in scarcity and fear, actually. And so a lot of our initial adjustments in the marriage would really get on me. And in our family, we would directly, whenever we had these issues, we would start talking about it. We vocalize our issues and we try and like work it out, right? And my wife was like, no, I don't like doing that when you're emotional. And at first it really ticked me off. It was hard for me because I was like, no, we got to work through it. This is how my family does it. We work through these issues when we have them. And she would get in the car and drive off. And I was like, what? How am I going to deal with this? And then she would come back a lot of times and say, I'm sorry. And I was like, what? This is such a different thing and a different way to deal with our issues. And so I liked it. And so whenever I got upset or angry with whatever we were, dealing with in our marriage, I realized, I can take this negative energy and turn it into positive. So in the winter here in Utah, there's always snow to shovel. So when I was mad, I'd go shovel snow. In the summer or spring, I would go out and do yard work. I start pulling weeds. I mow the lawn, trim the hedges, do whatever, go prune the trees. And a lot of times I would listen to conference talks and I was angry, and I would take this negative energy and I was ticked, and I would use it doing yard work. And as I felt inspiration. As my anger started to come down, I had these clear thoughts of relationship clarity and things that it would give me visions of how I can deal with the issues that I felt were destroying our marriage or potentially, dangerous to our marriage. And so I was able to, again, take those emotions that could have been negative and turn them into a positive. And that has been just life-changing for me, especially as my kids became, from toddler to preteens to teens now. I've been able to hone in on those skills that my wife kind of, taught me and that I developed over time. And luckily, it's been the greatest blessing in my life to be able to control my emotions and turn them into positives.
Thank you for sharing that, bro. Setting the example for all of us husbands, man. I guarantee, me and a lot of other guys watching this episode is going to be like, yeah, I know what he's talking about.
It was hard. It was
Yeah.
really hard, but it was the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings in my marriage and with my kids too, our family.
That's cool, man. That's super cool. I'm looking at that time. We were kind of running out of time too. If you were to give advice to any guys out there that are watching this, what would you want them to know? What would you want them to take from this episode and apply into their lives? What would you want to tell them?
I always liken it to life experiences, yeah. And so I think coping skills are so underappreciated. And most people's the world's coping skills are go have a drink, go to the bar, happy hour, get on some anxiety med, which, sometimes people need these and it's not a horrible thing, right? And if you have balance, it's fine. But generally, drinking and taking, a lot of medications, some are fully necessary as a nurse, I know this, but sometimes it can become a crutch and become, a bad thing. So, I remember I got home from work one time and I was really happy. I was just upbeat. And my wife said, how come you're so happy? She goes, what'd you do after work? Did you come straight home? And I was like, no, I stopped at the skate park and I went skating. And she was like, what? She's like, oh, wow. Cause you're like really happy. And so a month later, I got home and I was grumpy, and my wife, she could see that. And she goes, hey, and she tried to do it in the kindest way. And I could have taken offense to this, but I didn't. And she said, hey, you should go to the skate park. And I was like, you're right. So I went to the skate park and I skated around for 15 minutes. I came back, all my endorphins, my, everything. I was feeling good, dopamine. And it taught me, coping skills are just such a huge factor that we overlook in life. Like, how do we cope with things? And so, and working in the jail, whenever I feel like I'm in the jail for a reason, to help people to see their full potential, and to, instead of chasing whatever they're chasing that is wrong, whether it's a drug or stealing money or stealing a car or whatever it is, pursue something that's positive. Change when things get stressful in life, if you can see and recognize that before it gets out of hand, and you can use a different coping skill, whether that's fishing, cooking, knitting. For me, it's surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding, taking my daughter out for a meal, going out to eat, with my family. Whatever that is, whatever works for you, find it. And when you feel stressed or overwhelmed, do it. Get a coping skill that balances you out. Balance is everything in life. And so that's my word of advice, is finding a coping skill that when you're stressed and you feel that coming on, go do it. Go take the time for yourself and invest in yourself, because you'll be a better you for having it.
Amen, brother. I was kind of giggling because when you said your wife told you, I think you better go to the skate park. There's been a few times when, I'm either like working too much, lacking sleep or whatnot, and I like to lift weights. Skating for you is like weightlifting for me. That's my coping. The endorphins make me feel so good afterwards, and I envision all that stresses leaving my body and go into the metal, right? And whenever I get into one of my modes where I'm just not acting my best, my wife tells me, you should go to the gym. You should go to the gym. Same thing, bro. So
The wisdom of the wives, they can feel it brewing in us.
They know, man. Our wives are smart, you know. They know it's better than anybody else, man. No,
Yeah.
seriously, Spencer, bro. Thank you so much for spending time for doing this episode, man. And folks, you know, like I can totally vouch for what everything that Spencer's been talking about, especially that whole thing with coping skills. Like with all these other challenges we have going on in our life, it's so important to find constructive, positive ways to channel all of that energy that we have. You know? Like you were saying, the whole idea about channeling that emotion into positivity is so true, bro. I've seen it. Yeah, I mean, we could probably just go on and on in another episode about this, but I just can't thank you enough, bro. I love you, man. Hopefully get a chance for catch you the next time you come. Hey, what is the next time you guys come in Hawaii? You know?
Hopefully soon. It's been a while. Well, yeah, I need to bring my family. I took Donovan out because he was going to BYU Hawaii, my oldest son.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to come out and visit you guys. Go grab some soons or something.
Oh yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. There's Pono Kelly moved here too.
Oh
yeah. Did you hear about that? Yeah.
No, I didn't know. Yeah, I knew was he in California practicing before?
Yeah. He just moved. He was telling me about it, and I just texted him the other day, so he's here now. And then Shannon is here, which trying to get your brother out here. And if you can come out here, everybody,
Yeah,
everybody just move.
I come out there with my family, but also maybe just Nolan too, or Nolan, Mimi, and my wife.
Oh yeah, man, I know. That'll be so cool, bro. But but no, seriously, thanks a lot, man, and thank Adrian too for letting me have this time with you, and your work too. So folks, check out another episode of Holy Kaika, and don't forget to comment and subscribe, and check out Spencer Tong at the hospital when you get a chance. So mahalo, brother. I'll talk to you guys.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for all you're doing. This is awesome.
Thank you, man.